thank the choir for that. That when Mignon said she was thinking of doing Black Horse and the Cherry Tree, I said, that would be surreal. and this is the perfect song for surrealism. That the lyrics are clear in that they are in English, but they are quite obscure as to their meaning. A sample of the lyrics: well, my heart knows me better than I know myself, so I'm going to let it do all the talking. I came across a place in the middle of nowhere with a big black horse and a cherry tree. I felt a little fear upon my back. He said, don't look back, just keep on walking. When the big black horse said, look this way, said, hey, lady, will you marry me? When asked about the song, Turnstile said, Black Horse and the Cherry Tree is inspired by an old blues Nashville, psycho hillbillies and hazy memories. It tells the story of finding yourself lost on your path and a choice has to be made. It's about gambling, fate, listening to your heart, and always having the strength to fight the darkness that's always willing to carry you off. Well, thank you, Miss Turnstile. That really clears things up. That's the trouble with artists. They do not always grasp the linear nature of cause and effect. I don't understand this song, yet I like it. It twists reality and gives no clear meaning. I went on the web and I looked for pictures of big black horses and cherry trees. And this first one was painted by Katsukawa Sunshu in 1770. Now, there's really nothing surreal about this painting. It's formalized and has the title written on the side for those who didn't understand the picture. And it was probably done by commission by somebody who was very rich, because you look at how fancy that saddle is. The guy said, can you paint my horse by my tree? And Mr. Sunshu did it. Now this next portrait is unattributed. It was probably drawn by a young fan after hearing the song. Now this is surreal. And when I think of a big black horse and the cherry tree, I very seldom think of the horse in the actual tree. It's an impossible relationship between the horse and the tree. It raises more questions than answers. And this is one of the hallmarks of surrealism. The elements of a poem or a painting are recognizable, but they're arranged bizarrely, provoking the imagination. The first Surrealist manifesto was written by a French writer, Andrew Breton, and released in the public in 1924. It defines surrealism, note the similarity to Katie Turnstile's definition of her song, psycho-automatism in its pure state, by which one proposes to express verbally, by means of the written word or any other manner, the actual functioning of thought, dictated by the thought in the absence of any control exercised by reason and exempt from aesthetic or moral concern. What they're trying to do is tap into the unconscious, a kind of a dreamlike state. And this is most apparent among the artists in the Surrealist school. And the most famous was Salvador Dali. And this painting is called The Persistence of Memory. I don't know what it means. I mean, does time melt as memory persists? Now, is this a horse or a bed sheet with the watch over it? I can't quite tell. The mountains in the background and somehow a table. All this stuff is there, and this image somehow has taken hold in the culture. You see melted watches in all sorts of parodies and all sorts of things. It's just part of our cultural language now. That this guy said, what would happen if watches melted? And somehow it resonates with our trying to understand this nature of time and beauty. The next painting is one of his wife. He used his wife a lot, and I tell you, she was been a very patient person, because most of his paintings were not always flattering to her. This is actually one of the more flattering paintings of her. But what does it mean? It's Galatia of the spheres. Does he mean that his wife contains many worlds? Does he mean that she's fragmented? In some ways, she's peaceful in this, but it's just a very swirl of meaning and imagery, all kind of juxtaposed, and it's not to be understood literally, but it evokes something in us. Surrealism changes reality and causes one to re-examine it. Another artist who alters one's perspective is Escher. Now his images are more geometric and less dreamlike than Dali. They are realistic, but upon closer observation, they're impossible. See, this waterfall comes down, and then it flows vertically, or horizontally, and then it's back up at the top. How did it climb between all those towers? There's a thing of the trick of perspective that we see in just regular art that you realize even that's a lie. If you see a three-dimensional image even in a landscape, that artist has tricking you by making it look three-dimensional because your painting surface is two-dimensional. So what it's saying, what is real and what isn't real? And so you can create these figures that are or exercises in optical illusions, where some people didn't think that Dali or Escher was much of an artist. He was more of a technician. And I think the biggest argument that he wasn't an artist is this next one, because apparently his paintings drew themselves. The next person I want to talk about is Magritte. Now he's colorful like Dali, but he's very geometric like Escher. And I don't know, when I look at this, I think of the anonymity of modern man. But I don't know what that means. This picture is entitled The Son of Man, which in biblical terms is often Jesus. But maybe this isn't Jesus, perhaps it's Adam looking at the temptation of an apple, but he's fully clothed. I don't know what this means. And how does the meaning change when the apple is replaced? Is the man in the bowler hat having visions of peace, looking at the doves, or did Paris just have a really bad pigeon problem? What is the expression on his face? We don't know whether he's happy, sad, fear, serenity. Surrealism forces us to look with new eyes upon the world. Do we only see what we expect to see? How does our mind alter our perceptions? Things are not always as they seem. I want to show you this next picture by Magritte. Wow, finally. This painting is clear. It's a picture of a pipe. I understand that that's a pipe. Could you tell me what that French is there?
This is not a pipe.
Oh darn, I thought I understood this painting, and his title is that it's not what I think it is. Because it's not a pipe, I can't smoke this, I can't do it. It's a painting. The whole thing of art is a delusion. So even those things that you think are real and realistic paintings our illusions. So what surrealism does is really shift and say, what is real? What is real? We have all these concepts of what we think should be, but they always are trying to bust that bubble. Saying, question reality, question authority. Surrealism is subversive because it challenges everything. Now, in our gallery today, there are a couple images that are surreal. And one of my favorites is there's a painting by Dick Creed, and you can't really, you'll have to look at it afterwards. It's of a boat in Nova Scotia. Is that one's looking into a building, but instead of seeing an interior, one is looking at a boat on the lake. It's a boathouse, and apparently you're looking through it. The sunny interior of this building is juxtaposed with this gloomy exterior, just confounding what you would think of a sunny day outside of a building, and you open up the building and there's a boat inside of the outside. And I don't think he photoshopped this picture. I think he actually found some real-life surrealism and captured it on film. Surrealism is about changing the lens in which we view reality. And Jim Campbell did this with a couple of pictures. I don't have his picture here, but I do have a picture like one of his. It is an image of a tree, but not with visual light, but with infrared light, looking at the heat that this tree is changing off. It's using a different technological lens to have a parallel reality. You have the stems of the trees with these brighter colors throwing off more light, and the leaves gradually are cooler and cooler. Why are the stems so hot? I think he titled his thing of trees back there, "The Secrets That Trees Keep." I don't know what he meant by that. It's pretty surreal, but that we know Jim. But that it's the sense of that you could change, that there's more than one reality. There's the reality of a tree that we see with our eyes in visible light, and parallel at the same time, invisible to our eye, is this reality of a tree, the heat that it's throwing off. And what if our world, and I think our world does, at any one moment contain multiple realities that we pull from our experiences as a child, from where we are culturally, from our viewpoint on religion, from our viewpoint on just our ability to see. The world has gotten a lot more like a Monet painting for me as I grow older. Things are a lot more blurry than they used to be when I was a child. And so all these things affect how we perceive reality. And surrealism is a reminder to us that reality may actually exist out there as something distinct that we can know. But the only way to get to reality is through the lenses that we carry with us all the time. And so seeing isn't always believing. We sometimes are only able to see what we're prepared to see, or hear what we're prepared to hear. I'm always amazed that when I learn a new word for the first time, that for the next 2 weeks, everybody is using that word. Now, I'm quite sure that that word existed in my reality probably from childhood, but something lifted a veil. And that's what surrealism tries to do, is to puncture that veil that we are looking at the world in and forcing us to consider new possibilities. So as you look at the art today, sometimes a landscape isn't just a landscape. There are multiple realities that we are living in all the time. Think about that this week as you view your world.